Welcome back to Are We the Only Ones? I'm Kathy, and today I want to talk about Ilhan Omar, who is a very important senator in Minnesota, who is also an alumni of my nonprofit, Vote Run Lead, in which I'm the co-chair of the Leadership Council. I have personally met Ilhan Omar, and I am credited in her documentary, and I would like to express my solidarity with her in regards to her attack that she faced by somebody who threw some kind of liquid on her at her town hall. This is the second attack on a Vote Run Lead alum in the last year. The first one was Representative Melissa Hortman, who was assassinated. I am not going to stand for any more female assassinations, female harassment, female attacks. Gabby Giffords was one of the most famous victims of a political attack. She was shot in the head and she survived. And her husband is the very esteemed Senator Mark Kelly, astronaut, military, served with distinction and is a senator now and is constantly being attacked by crooked Donald Trump. What I need you to understand is that there is a double standard that we are allowing that we can no longer allow anymore. Right-wing, cowardly Republicans bring firearms to peaceful demonstrations and town halls. They bring liquids and they throw them at female senators. These people need to be dealt with accordingly by the law. I think Democrats have been very, very patient. President Obama, I love you. Yes, when they go low, we go high. However, I love President Obama, but sir, you did set a precedent to allow people to come to your rallies and carry AK-47s and AR-15s outright without checking their permits, without ticketing them, without saying, yeah, you can carry it, but you have to carry it out there. You're not allowed to carry it. I am the president of the United States, for God's sakes. You cannot bring a weapon loaded here. Are you out of your damn mind? You need a psych eval. Would have been completely within the bounds of normalcy. But President Obama, being the most extraordinary person he is, was able to do that and survive. However, what that has done is set a precedent that should never have been set in the first place, which is that firearms should not be brought to a political function of somebody who is holding a peaceful, lawful town hall, rally, what have you. I also remember during that time that there were Republicans that would have things like Obama with like crosshairs and print that stuff in their political stuff. I remember Sarah Palin doing that. Yes, people, I have a very good memory. So I am now demanding that us citizens require that we go back to a standard where if you bring weapons and you are brandishing them. Now, Alex Preddy was not brandishing his weapon. He was lawfully carrying it and he was not brandishing it. I'm talking about people that are actually carrying it in their hands, waving it with the barrels up. If you remember Hurricane Katrina, do you remember that the National Guard was carrying their firearms up in the air? And their esteemed leader, I remember his face, I don't remember his name, demanded, I remember watching it live, he demanded everybody point those barrels down at the ground. Because these are American citizens. Don't you walk around like that. Don't you walk around like you're playing war. What are you doing? Same concept. You should not be walking around with your weapons in the air at any time if you're trying to be lawfully and peacefully protesting with your weapon. If you are somebody who wants to come to a town hall and pour or spray or throw water on a elected official, there should be a understanding that that person should be detained and punished lawfully with due process, but it must be made so that everybody can see as an example that you do not do that. I think that because crooked Donald Trump clearly faked that assassination because he has not mentioned it once since. This is how I know it's fake. That man cannot stop talking about anything that he's done. He still talks about being in a military academy when he was like a teen. Was he like 15, 16? He still posts that photo of him in a military outfit. That is not even real military wear. You were not a grown man serving in the armed forces. You were in a pre-military program for teens. And you still talk about that photo. You still talk about that. I need everybody to understand that the time for us to wait and see has passed. It is now time for us to boycott on a level that is not like, oh, if you happen to be busy that day, already have plans, okay, we understand. We have to get to the point where we're boycotting like the Europeans. When we boycott, like the entire country comes to a standstill. When I lived in Japan, if a company did something, I remember there was a specific example where a company used expired milk in their cookies. Japan boycotted them into oblivion. They went out of business within a year. And the boycott culture in Japan is so strong that companies do not do things like that. It is rare because they know how difficult it is to recover. To this day, if you fly Japan Airlines versus ANA, all the Japanese say Japan Airlines is a terrible airline because of one incident that happened decades ago. You will see mostly foreign people on Japan Airlines. If you see Japanese, it's because the ANA was more expensive, and for whatever reason, they chose they had to fly Japan Airlines. That is how hardcore it is. And I've flown Japan. I love Japan Airlines, but I'm telling you, if we had boycott culture that was that strong, we would be able to maintain companies behaving properly, treating people properly, and not buying into this kind of corruption. We now have Sam Altman from OpenAI outright speaking up against crooked Donald Trump. Thank God. I just came back from Silicon Valley. I was there for a memorial service. I am from Silicon Valley. I'm from Los Altos, which is a well-known town in Los Altos that is home of the top 1% of Silicon Valley. This is where I grew up. I got to go back and refamiliarize myself with my hometown and its culture and people. And what I remember is we were always an altruistic place. Do we have racism? Yeah. Did we have issues? Yes. But let me tell you something about that place. Every single person that I ever had a problem with that gave me drama is now one of my largest and greatest champions. That's the difference between where I grew up and what I'm seeing in this world right now. What I'm seeing in this world right now is something that's more common to what I used to see when I would travel overseas to third world countries, which is corrupt governments, which is blatant disregard for human rights. And I used to do a lot of work in communist countries because China, I had to go to China a lot. China is still, and there's a lot of problems that I have with China. But the fact that China is now coming out against some of the strongest geopolitical powers in the world and standing up against them I have to look at China completely differently. Chinese people, great hardworking people. Chinese government, a little tough. A little tough. However, even the sale of TikTok, I did not participate on the TikTok platform until I think 3 or 4 months ago was when I first entered TikTok. Mainly because when I used to do business in China, I would notice that if I ever tweeted or anything, I would have like 20 Chinese government accounts following me immediately. So when TikTok was getting really, really big, I was always very concerned about using it because of the data. Now, TikTok has made a deal to work in the US, and now the US is even being more shady with the TikTok data. I have noticed that my post previously, before TikTok's new terms of service agreement that you had to agree to when you logged on, had 5,000 plus views. I have posted 2 things since. They haven't even broken like 25 views. Some are still sitting at 0, which is completely not normal for my TikTok account. So this tells me that the American allyship for dictatorship in America has taken control, and they are asserting their control. And this is just the beginning. If they actually had full control of our access to leaving our houses, access to going to the airport, access to food, water, shelter, electricity, gas, power, internet, Wi-Fi, you don't think they're going to charge you for that access? You don't think that they're going to charge us some kind of fine? This guy's monetized every single. If he can monetize breathing, he would. And if you don't think that's true, you're naive. I cannot tell you how many times I have thought about Ilhan Omar since she has been elected. When she first started, she was a state representative. I was so proud of her, how far she had come. When I met her, I was pregnant. I have a photo with her. And every time I notice something's going on with her, I post that photo in solidarity. I've had to post that photo so many times. It is amazing to me how many times a female elected official on the Democratic side will get attacked by cowardly men, and no one will say anything. No one will really go out and support her or defend her. She should have immediate increase in security. There should, after Melissa Horton, there should have been security for every female representative, if anything, from our organization, because we've had so many that are being attacked. If you care about democracy, there is no better organization to donate to than Vote Run Lead. And I'm telling you that when we introduced a squad at our town hall in New York City, I was there. And I got to see Ilhan, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley meet for the first time. And it was powerful. And I think it's time for the squad to get together. And I think that we need to unite, not as blue or red. Honest to God, it's way past that. There are 5-year-olds being used as bait to get their hardworking parents out of the house to be arrested. There are people that have checked in lawfully for their immigration hearings their entire life, 20 years plus. They get detained as they're leaving, and then their special needs son dies as a result of their detainment. And they ask to get approval to go to the funeral, and ICE denies them. There is such a lack of humanity right now that if you want to hold on to your humanity, if you want to even recognize yourself after this term is over, if you want to have a leg to stand on moving forward, not just in America, in the entire world, with your entire family, you need to stop supporting Republican ideologies now. You need to call your friends and apologize. You need to be posting like crazy, because if you don't, when the reckoning comes, you will have not shown that you had any remorse, that you were in it for the long haul. And I'm telling you, you are literally aligning yourself with American Nazis. So the truth will set you free. Recognize that you're wrong. Recognize it's time to change and start joining the good fight. It's never too late. But if the time has passed and we have all reconciled everything and you have still not differentiated yourself, even if you're a Democrat, if you're not out there talking right now and being angry right now, it's a problem, guys. This needs one common voice. There's a boycott on January 30th. If we can get 11 million people to boycott at the same time, the economic feeling will be so strong, it's really hard for a capitalist society to ignore it unless they lie. Where do you think you will get to the point? What is your line of demarcation where you are going to rise up, where you're going to start protesting, where you're going to start talking about it, amplifying it, where you're going to become a warrior? Have you done something yet? Will you do something? When will you do something? Reflect on that in yourself and get back to me. Let me know. Because we cannot let people get executed in the streets any longer. We cannot allow state-sanctioned kidnapping. Because in the ICE detention facilities, I am reading reports and hearing reports, even Sean King, who's reported as well, there are ICE agents taking children, male children, and stomping on their testicles. This is a fact. I also just saw a reel where one of the congressional representatives that have to listen to the Epstein hearings came out, and she said that the reason why Minnesota is happening with ICE is because the hearings are happening and she has to sit through the hearings. There were snuff films in the Epstein files, snuff films of children. You need to understand we are fighting for the moral dignity and legacy of the United States. I need you to stand up. This is not about political party anymore. This is about basic human decency. There will be a time, if we do not stop it now, where it can still remain peaceful, and there are executions and deaths, but it's not a full-blown civil war yet. However, we are getting close, and this is how you know. You have Governor Walz, love you, Governor Walz. You have Governor Walz calling in the National Guard from Minnesota to come and protect protesters by doing very smart things like bringing hot chocolate and blankets and having the National Guard from Minnesota wearing differentiated colors on their vests so that you can tell like that's not ICE, that's the National Guard. But what does that remind me of? It's giving Game of Thrones and the Queen's Guard and the King's Guard, right? How many different personal armies that are funded by the public have to be used for each government entity to fight on behalf of the same government and its people. This is crazy. Do we want it to get to that point? If you don't want it to get to the point where we're literally all of our different, like our Coast Guard, our National Guard, our, I don't know. I don't even know all the systems in the national domestic, because I was in the United States Marine Corps. And, you know, when you're in the Marine Corps, especially as a spouse or a family member, you live and breathe the Marine Corps. So you don't know anything about other domestic protection forces, okay? But now I'm going to appreciate them more. I have never appreciated the National Guard more than I do now. And I really need everybody to recognize that Donald Trump used to be pro-police. Look at what he's doing to the police now. When you bring ICE in, it is a direct undermining of the police in that local community. He has betrayed every single group that has supported him. The Cubans, the Venezuelans. The only people he has not betrayed are the pedophiles. He betrays the children before the pedophiles. Even now, he can't even pretend to like children. He can't even pretend to want to care and protect children. He uses them as bait. He hasn't even fired Stephen Miller yet. He hasn't fired Christine Noem yet, and they use children as bait, and he's trying to say he's not a pedophile or pedophile protector. Sir, you look, dress, walk, act like a pedophile. Based on the fact that you don't even protect children and use them as bait, shows that you don't give a crap about children. I implore everybody, if you can create memes that just attack the presidency with his buffoonery. My favorite one is I created in Canva. I took Melania Trump's documentary movie poster and put sloppy seconds on that poster. And then I'm just putting out there. Because it's true. And I think we need to combat them on a different level. It's hard to combat buffoons with intellectual behavior, right? Like, do facts really matter to this man? No, but embarrassment does. We need to embarrass him with the truth. The more embarrassing with the truth, the more effective of a message it is. The truth will set us all free from this ridiculous, disgusting presidency. And I'm going to tell you now, nothing is more evidentiary about the Trump popularity than the amount of ticket sales that are happening from Melania's Trump documentary. Her ticket sales, she has something like 3 total tickets sold in, there was a premiere in the United States, and then they looked in London, and there was only 1 ticket, and it's like the largest venue for a release. The worst ticket sales I've ever heard, I'm in the actors union, so I pay attention to movies and how they do. The worst sales I have ever heard on a film, I believe, was $60,000 recouped for a film. She has sold like 7 tickets max that I know of. Maybe they haven't been reporting from Texas and the red states, but I mean, it's a $40 million budget. They're not going to recoup it. If this doesn't tell you that they probably stole the election, I don't know what would. These numbers are so appalling that like it kind of like, whoa, how can you only have double-digit sales and ticket sales when you have a $40 million budget and a distribution partner like Amazon? Do you understand how unpopular you have to be? I hate Amazon. I still got to use it. And they can't push this. There's nothing more telling than this ticket sales of this documentary. That is what we hold on to. That is what we use. as a measuring of the truth. Every single one of those movie posters that has been put out in the public has been defaced. It's actually pretty funny. Some of those things are pretty clever the way they've defaced it. And even some other people have said, if the Melania documentary was in an airplane, I'd still walk out. No lies detected. Tell me what you think. I would like to see a large uprising of support on behalf of Ilhan Omar, on behalf of all female legislators. We need to show the toxic masculinity that is about to die out and is taking its last stand through ICE, through these policies, through this just nonsense behavior. We need to show them that everything they are trying to maintain as the status quo of being evil, aggressive, predatorial, that is not strong to us anymore. That is buffoonery. That is just not weakness. Like, oh, weakness. Oh, that doesn't. No, I mean, like, legitimately. There is no more of a textbook case of narcissistic personality disorder, Machiavellianism, sociopathic disorder than Donald Trump. Just because we have people in the government that are too weak and too cowardly to stand up to someone who is clearly unfit and mentally unstable, then instead of, look, I will mirror this administration. They think I'm too woke. Fine, I won't be so woke. I won't. All of the things that I have been practicing to protect the weak, I won't use to protect you. I won't give you that same courtesy. You want us to start firing the words at you that we really mean, that are really true? Okay. You want to hear the honest truth, plain and simple, about you and your family? Okay. I think it may be time for the plain truth. The plain truth is this. Donald Trump, you are one of the most textbook by GPA officially on your transcripts, the most intellectually stunted human being that has ever held that office. You are so morally depraved and so concerned with your sexual prowess and how it is perceived that you have allowed yourself to be run by a mail order bride who was sloppy seconds to a man whose penis was so small that he needed to have sex with children so that he could feel like he was a man. And I would imagine that's probably the same that happened to you. You felt like you had to have little hands around your little penis so that you would feel big. Look, I don't want to say these things. This is not how I even talk when I'm talking about the office of the esteemed presidency. But the truth remains. It is not the office of the presidency that is at fault because there is a loser inside that office. It is our fault. Many people say it's not my fault because I have constantly been sounding the alarm. But collectively, overseas, nobody can tell the difference between me speaking up as an American and America at large doing all this craziness. We have to differentiate ourselves. We have to become so loud that the world hears that the minority is actually Donald Trump. Donald Trump doesn't want to believe that he's the minority, but he is the minority. The minority is not black, brown, yellow, red, whatever stupid colors you want to apply to us that we didn't apply to ourselves. The minority in this world is a sniveling Nepo baby who never could make any money on his own without a bailout from his father. The world of merit is starting to rise up, and the world of nepotism is going away. And the only Nepo babies that succeed are the ones that actually have talent. Your family is the last family that we will see at this level that is full of the most unremarkably lame, unattractive family. Ivanka Trump is probably the only person that's attractive other than Melania. But Melania is sloppy seconds. Like, I look at her and I'm just like, ugh. Like, I went, ugh. So gross. Like, you had sex with two of the most disgusting men in history. You have no game. You couldn't have gone, oh, please. If I'm going to go into, this is the great thing about having a double standard, is that I am too dignified to go into what I would say in like a roasting battle, for instance. But everything I said previously was true. So the truth hurts, but it will set you free. And the reality is, if we don't stand up now, we will be facing one of the most difficult presidencies to fix that we've ever faced. This will be worse than the Great Depression. We will see in movies for the next 20 years, maybe 30 years, where the American accent will be used as the villain's accent. And that's because we didn't all stand up and collectively crush this collaboration of corruption at the start. Do not fold now. Do not become weak now, Republicans. You guys have said that you were the, we were the snowflakes. Seems like you're the snowflakes now. You're melting as soon as there's some. The Second Amendment, I thought you guys were about that. I'm just saying. I never realized that the people that had been promoting the Second Amendment this entire time would go and hide as soon as that right was violated. I never thought they were going to go hide, but here we are. So that means all of us as a society have to regroup and reevaluate what fear really is. We have been made to be afraid of these Second Amendment hardcore right-wingers for so long, and now you see how quickly they fold. They're the cowards. Tell me what you think. What is the pathway out of here? Give me suggestions. I would love to talk about them. Give me your analysis. Okay, until next time. Give me a follow, like, Substack, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Are we the only ones? Pod. See you next time.